Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Friday Takeaway, episode number 1. I'm here with my friend Stefan Soroka. We're starting this new podcast. This is a podcast which is 100% focused on-demand delivery. That is the main focus and everything that surrounds it. It's a very cool, dynamic industry, and I believe that there are many topics we can talk about. I'm gonna start for this first episode. I think it's important for us to do a little bit of an intro. Who we are, what is it that we do, what's our backgrounds, and why do we care about on-demand delivery? So
Perfect. Let's get on it.
let's get on it. Stefan, I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everyone who is listening to this pilot project that we decided to launch recently, being all keen in the industry and its development, and especially growth, the growth of not just interest of everyday use and investors, but the growth of the industry itself, of how we consume products, how we consume food every day. My name is Stefan. I'm a part of the company called Wear Your Brand. Basically, what we do is we provide consulting on-demand delivery and courier gear services, where we basically dress up couriers worldwide for food delivery companies like Uber and grocery delivery companies like Gorillas. Both of these companies are our clients. We work very closely with them. We work with many other companies in the industry. So every day we interact with very interesting people and very challenging tasks these companies are facing in terms of providing the best gear, standing out in terms of branding, and getting the market share. And we help all these startups and bigger companies with that on their quite challenging but very interesting and exciting path. And I have a little blog on LinkedIn where I share all the company news from worldwide, from the whole industry of food, grocery delivery, and everything that is connected with that industry. And I'm very excited to start this podcast to share more, invite some exciting people, invite professionals of the industry who manage the stuff, invite founders who started these companies in different points of time. There are many young companies, there are many mature companies as well, and how this industry is developing and in general where it's going. And there are many fields, many topics to discuss. So very excited.
Awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, thanks, Stefan, for the intro. About myself, my name is Mateus Coelho. I'm well, as you can see, this is a very Portuguese name, so you might be wondering whether I'm Brazilian or Portuguese, and the answer is I'm Brazilian.
Awesome.
Obviously, not obviously, but in like many Brazilians from Portuguese family. And the reason why I started, why we wanted to start this podcast is, my background, is mostly in technology. I've been working in SaaS, so that's software as a service companies, since 2012. So that's almost 10 years now. And I've seen a lot of technology, a lot of progress, a lot of disruption, lots of and I've been a part of many dynamic industries and segments within those industries. And after spending so much time in technology and speaking to many people and getting to know some really clever people, you get into the mindset, the technology mindset, so to speak, where you're like always looking for every industry that you look, you're probably looking for inefficiencies and how technology can help those industries or segments, etc. So, recently I started to pay a lot of attention to, the food industry as a whole, and more specifically, getting into delivery, on-demand delivery, which is something that that was organically growing in a very interesting way. And then after the pandemic, it accelerated in a pretty crazy pace,
Oh yeah, it did
right?
indeed.
So, you're in the mindset of looking for inefficiencies. What can improve? How can we help? Are there any issues that can, that can be solved? So that's how I got into this industry, because we definitely saw some big, some great things happening, but at the same time, some big inefficiencies, especially around, data regarding online delivery. We started to hear from big players, big players in the industry, big FMCG companies, just coming to us and asking, hey, I mean, how do I get data from online delivery? I don't know what's happening with my products. I don't know what's happening with my brands. I just don't know anything. I'm pretty much operating in the dark. So we're, I'd say, initially surprised about this, but started to investigate and find ways to solve those issues. And that's why we got into this industry. That's why we started our company, which is Data Feast. And that's why we're so immersed in this industry, and now are starting this podcast, because yes, we're trying to solve a few things, but there are many other things that still need to be solved, and we still need to discuss them. And there's so many interesting things happening, so many interesting people we can talk to. So very excited to start this podcast as well, with you, Stefan.
Exactly, very excited as well. And this is the best part, that so many industries are in this area now. This is like the disruption of how people consume goods on an everyday basis. Like, to be honest, you have been in this FMCG field for a while, right? So you have been working with groceries for a long time. Basically, pandemic for me pushed me into this industry, because everything that I did before was on hold, and basically the way that it's evolving now and how things are moving and changing every day is just incredible. And I absolutely agree with you that there is so much to talk about, and very excited to start our first topic, and very excited to start with on-demand delivery groceries.
Yes, awesome.
Revolution. Is it a revolution? Is it a nice thing to have? Like, it's a big topic. It's huge, and I don't know if we'll fit it in an hour, in 2 hours. Like, I can speak about it for days, because there is so much going on. But yeah, very exciting to start on that.
Yeah. All right. So the official topic for today is on-demand grocery delivery. Is it a revolution, or is it a nice to have, like you were saying, right? And how would you describe for the audience, what do you mean when we say on-demand grocery delivery? Who are we talking about? What kind of company?
I think that we can differentiate it in a couple of competition fields, if you let me to name it like that. There is Ultrafast grocery delivery, which is basically the companies like Gorillas and Flink and Getir, of course, and Dija, and I don't want to offend anyone. There are just so many of those. Yeah, but there is just a lot of them. Ultra fast delivery groceries. They're spreading super fast. They're getting tons of money. All of them have different strategies. All of them starting from different countries, different points, and it is a very exciting place to be. Another field that I believe we can mention for the on-demand grocery delivery is the 30-minute to an hour delivery, right? This is what food delivery companies are doing as well, like Deliveroo and Uber and Takeaway and Delivery Hero and Glovo. Actually, Delivery Hero and Glovo also have the ultra-fast delivery with 7 to 15 minutes with their own dark stores. So they're also stepping in this field and Volt as well. But this is basically the space where you get groceries a little later. It can be also from the dark store. It can be from the from other facility, or let's not forget GoPuff and Instacart. Those are also giants. GoPuff is also operating through the dark stores, and Instacart is basically delivering from both their facilities and from the supermarkets. And everybody is fighting for that. So it's like 30-minute, hour delivery. And there is still same day, next day delivery. Companies like Crisp, like Ocado, supermarkets who are also going online during the pandemic, Walmart and many others like Kroger's. They also want to expand their audience, and they're also getting into this battlefield. But even though there are so many market players, we didn't even name half of them because there is Asia, there is LATAM, like Joker is already almost everywhere. GoPuff is going to Europe with today's news that they're acquiring Deja, and everything is changing so fast that's why this topic is exciting. That maybe in half a year, maybe in a couple of months, or maybe in a year, we'll see the completely different landscape. Many companies or less companies, stronger companies, different fundings in them. So there's a lot. There is a lot of stuff.
No, absolutely.
I don't even know how to call it. Like it's just a lot, and a lot of companies, a lot of ways how they differentiate from each other, and that's why I think it's a very exciting topic.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, there's a lot of stuff happening. That's absolutely right. There is. It's pretty dynamic. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty interesting. And one of the things that I wrote down here for us to talk about is that, and you hinted at it, which is the fact that there are so many of these on-demand grocery delivery companies, especially when it comes to these 7 to 15-minute delivery services, which is amazing for the consumers, right? It's absolutely great. But there's so many that are starting to appear out of the blue, out of nowhere, and not only there, these companies are appearing, but we're noticing that these companies are heavily funded. These are serious businesses.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of money out there.
There's a lot of money being invested into these companies. So, I have a few ideas and theories, but I would like to hear your inputs. What do you think the investors are seeing, in these companies? Why are they putting so much money into this?
Look, I think the answer is very simple. We see with the COVID situation, with all the lockdowns and everything that changed so much since 2020. I don't know why it didn't happen earlier. Now it seems so obvious, but basically, when you're getting groceries online, you're not buying groceries, you're buying time. And I don't feel that it's only the COVID that is going to drive the growth of the industry. I think that is the rhythm of our lives, and COVID just basically accelerated it. And there are many arguments around that topic in general, but what I personally believe is there are several things. Thing number one is basically you're buying time, and at retail price you can get a beer or chips and get it delivered to your doorstep. Like imagine you live in you don't have to imagine it, you live in London, and you just have so many choices what you can order, and basically these ultra fast delivery grocery companies, they're not fighting for the field of grocery area. Like they're not fighting Tesco, they're not fighting each other. Basically they're gaining the market share from the offline retailers, and the biggest competition for them is the smaller retailers like Tesco Express, where there is less SKUs and where you basically come in and you need to buy to get something for today, for now, and you basically just save time. I was amazed when I was in Moscow in December, and we're just sitting with my friend. It was 11 or 12 p.m. And we just wanted some water and something. I don't even remember what. And we were just talking. We didn't see each other for a while, and he just placed an order at Yandex.Lavka. And like 5-7 minutes, there is a knock on the doorbell, and I was like, "Who is that? Like, it's so late." And he's like, "Yeah, but you just said that you want water and you want some stuff, so I ordered it." And this was the first experience, even though I was already working in the industry and was ordering food for, like, I order every day, but this 7-minute delivery, it was super fast. It just really blew my mind at that time. And this was actually the time when all these companies, Gorillas got their first funding and Deja got their first funding, but there was not much information about them. So I think that it's a very amazing tool for people in big cities, and not just big cities, to save the time. That's number one. Okay. Number two, the online is just in the beginning. If we take a look of all the e-commerce, with all the effort from Amazon, other giants who have been selling for ages online with 2-day delivery and 3-day delivery and whatnot, the e-commerce is so small compared to the classical retail. If we speak about whatever, clothes, I don't know, if you buy iPhone online or whatnot, and grocery is only like a couple percent. It's less than 10% from all the retail potential that there is in the market. And I'm talking even about like very developed countries like US and UK. And if you just look from this perspective, and for how long the online e-commerce and the last mile delivery was not disrupted, for how much, I can't even say like why didn't we see that earlier, right? It's like now it's so obvious that people buy more and more online. Obviously COVID again pushed us to do that, and there is a very long way to go. Just imagine how much money they have now, and how many people are using them now, and the market is like, I don't know, for ultra fast grocery delivery, we are just in the beginning. It's just the first steps that everybody is making on this field, because there is so much infrastructure to build, there is so much to do, and so many clients who have never tried even ordering food, but groceries, come on, like the people who are living in their phones, they're just growing up, so there's going to be more and more audience on this field. And the third one, it's the basic idea for the customer and motivation to have stuff right now. Just imagine, just think about it. How many times when you're at home especially when now everybody's working from home mostly, right? Everybody's home office, even though the lockdowns is up and people still can go out. We're used to staying at home more and working and doing whatever we're doing at home. But just imagine and think about it. How many times you go to the fridge knowing that there is nothing in it, but you just open it and you're like, oh, there is no apple. I don't know, no banana. Oh, I wish I had a banana right now. But this on-demand miracle is basically giving us an opportunity not to have the fridge. And the fourth one is basically the problem of food waste, right? If we imagine maybe it's not the fourth one, maybe it's the fifth. I don't know. I'm already lost. But just imagine how much food is wasted by Walmart alone every year, every day that they throw out, and it just goes to nowhere. People just overconsume the stuff, planning for long term and buying groceries for weeks ahead, trying to anticipate what they would want or what they might want in the next weeks or days. And it takes, first of all, it takes a lot of energy to just do that and do that ahead. And second of all, imagine how much waste do these retailers keep on their shelves that just basically get thrown out. And on the other hand, how much food waste we have at home, right?
Yeah, that is true.
So, there is a lot.
These are great points. These are great points. So you're really looking, you're trying to, I mean, this to me sounds like a really long-term vision, right? The whole thing about replacing the refrigerator, that's a very bold statement. So you think that in the future, which may be short-term future or a long-term future, I would say that it will take a while, but you would think that there might be people in the future who will choose to maybe not have a fridge or have a smaller fridge and order and use these services, these ultra-fast delivery services, to order
for today
immediately.
To order for today. Yeah, the main thing, like we can consume only as much as we can consume, and people eat 3 times a day, right? So instead of getting the stuff for a week or for 3 days, I can just buy what I want to eat right now, and I don't need to think, do I need to buy a bigger pack so that it lasts for longer time? Oh, and am I going to drink it? It's milk. Is it fresh enough and things like that? You know what I mean? And there is just a lot of thought around that. I'm not saying that we can actually get rid of the fridge. This is quite a bold statement to make.
That's a bold statement, yeah.
Yeah, like, let's not forget there are things like ice cream and frozen pizza and stuff. We'll need the fridge anyways. But I definitely don't need to think about the long term on such a topic where I basically need to get the fuel for my body to just live and work and do stuff, right? It's the consumption of different goods and especially grocery is something that is really changing the mindset of how we consume stuff. Just another example, I think that we are going to touch this topic a little bit later on, but look at the pace where these companies are heading. For example, Rocket Food in California, the startup for food delivery, for grocery delivery on demand, and GoPuff already announced that too. They're going to dark kitchens. So basically, they will have a small menu. I don't know how small it's going to be. I have no idea. Maybe it's going to be a huge menu. But basically, at one place, you can just buy some sophisticated or non-sophisticated meal and get it delivered in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 7 minutes. This is crazy. And
This
I
is
can buy myself a Coke and just some meal. If I'm working or if I'm a student, and I don't need to think about going out or waiting for 30 minutes for some McDonald's stuff, because still for food delivery, food these chains like McDonald's and Burger King, basically like fast food chains, they are the biggest consumers because they're fast, because they are made for delivery, and this is just the way we learned how to consume these meals. And these companies will be offering like meals like HelloFresh, delivering meals daily to your doorstep, but they will deliver the meal that you can choose right now on demand. Isn't that crazy? This does replace the fridge.
So look at this premise, and this is for you. This is for me for sure. I'm going to think about this, and this is for the audience. It's 2021. It's August 2021. If you had to, could you right now live without a fridge? Can you live without a fridge? If I take the fridge from your house, from your apartment, can you go on? Would it disrupt your life completely, or is it feasible? And that's a thought. That's an interesting thought.
An interesting thought. If like from today I could just get rid of the fridge.
Yes.
I don't think my girlfriend will let me. She's still like a fan of cooking at home and having like a cozy dinner and whatnot. But to answer your question, yes, I do not use the fridge myself at all. Since I basically got in the industry and since the pandemic, and this is where it all started, I basically use food delivery, with the exception of going out somewhere. I use food delivery every day. I really order from the restaurants every day for many reasons. First of all, it's my professional thing that I always need to test this stuff. I always talk to couriers like about the gear, about their work conditions, get feedbacks, and I also travel a lot. So this is not really like a typical thing. Like pandemic never stopped me from traveling. I visit clients a lot in different countries and I test their services there. But for me personally, yes. And honestly, I know a lot of people who have the same approach. And at the same time, there are so many people who don't, who just don't use it, who don't like it, who cook themselves or just go out. They don't like the way the food is delivered. But to be honest, there are so many people who never tried it. And that's number one. And again, it's so early. It's so early.
I
Like
think it's
August
very early.
2021 is not the milestone when we can get rid of the fridge.
Yeah,
But what
I
about
think
you?
my thought is right now, 2021, I think it would be a little bit of an extreme experiment. It would disrupt my life a little bit, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think. But, a few years in the future, I don't know. I think we could get to that point. If, right, all these premises you mentioned start to really happen, if I can order, I mean, these things already exist already. So if I can use the gorillas of the world, the Dijs of the world to get my small things, my, I don't know, my apples, my fruits, Coca-Cola, whatever, something, the small stuff, right? So that's happening already. But once I can also have, the Hello Fresh of the world, Gustos of the world, to also deliver those are the meals, right? I mean, to deliver my lunches, my dinners in 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, wouldn't I do that? Wouldn't I do it on a daily basis? Probably. Um, so I think we're gonna get there, which is an interesting. If we do get there, I think it's an interesting world where, you know, you're eating everything you're eating is fresh. So I mean, that in itself has two benefits, I would say. Number one is there's a health benefit. You're eating fresh food.
Absolutely.
And there is a culinary benefit, which is fresh food tastes better, right? So there's more freshness into what you're eating, less conservatives, less junk, so to speak, and there's less waste, right? So you're ordering exactly what you're gonna eat, and you eat it, and then next meal you order it again, and you eat it. There's no waste, or there's very little waste, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So
And just imagine how much time you save. Just think about it as when you first tried Amazon
mhm,
and how it entered your life and how it, not at the same day, but little by little, it changed your way of thinking. Like, okay, I need a mattress. Do I need to go somewhere across the city and then think about how I deliver it? Actually choose from them, talk to somebody, and then stay in line, and then they'll tell me that okay, the delivery it's not available in the store. It needs to be delivered from the warehouse, and delivery is
mhm,
next week. Just think about these little things, how they changed. It was not quick, but how
no,
they changed our thoughts about buying things which are not grocery. Think about
mhm,
Uber in terms of taxis, Lyft, Bolt, all of these companies, where
mhm,
basically earlier we had to call some lady on the other line and just ask her to get a taxi, and then ask her where is the taxi, I cannot find the driver, or get it somewhere on the street. You never know how much is it going to cost you, and how it. I have a friend who actually, when he's not using Uber, when he's traveling to other countries where you cannot order the taxi online, there is still some of those. And he says, like, I completely forget to give people cash. Like, I don't have cash. I just get into the
yeah,
taxi, just go out, and then they chase me with that I didn't pay. But it's not me. I thought it was taken from my phone. And but at the same time, on the other hand, speaking about Amazon, speaking about this taxi business, it's also, there are a lot of people who never used that. Like my mom, she's not super old, but she was so amazed a year or 2 years ago when we basically got to the airport and we had to go inside, and we got out of the taxi and she didn't see me pay, so she was like, am I a scammer? Like, how did I do that? Where did I pass the money? So there is just so much stuff and so many people, and the way that it's changing our everyday behavior is immense. If you think of that perspective, it's not going to happen
yeah, yeah.
overnight. But again, how often do you use Amazon now, especially after pandemic?
Wow, every day, every week for sure.
That's the thing. And just imagine how many people, just like London, how many people live in London? I bet like more than half of people use online delivery of something.
Hmm. Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't have to be food or grocery delivery, but some online delivery.
some sort of delivery.
Yeah.
And going back to the ultra fast deliveries, right? It seems like, I mean, from the consumer's point of view, it seems obvious. I mean, it's amazing. If you tell me that there is this thing, this supermarket on the cloud, where I can select the things that I want, and people are gonna knock on my door in 5 minutes, of course I would want that. That's amazing, right? So my question to you is, why did it take so long for this to happen? How did these companies, I mean, what needed to happen for these companies to emerge, to be possible? How do they operate?
There are two questions in this question. How do they
Hmm.
operate? How is it possible? And the other question is, why didn't it happen before?
Yeah.
Why didn't it happen before? I don't know. To be honest, like right now, it's also such an obvious thing to me right now. But at the same time, before the pandemic, there still were a lot of food and grocery delivery companies. They were not ultra fast. They were not the companies they are now, but they definitely were on the market. Instacart was there, and
Hmm.
Rohlik was there. and many others. Like a lot of them were doing this stuff, and we shouldn't forget that it is still a quite a geeky thing. Like people think of it as of an experience now. They don't think of it as an everyday use thing, but many customers are attracted by the amazing pace that you order. Like I was amazed in the beginning that I order and I have it. So it's a lot about experience now, and it's a lot about the circumstances of COVID that it got so big. Like before COVID, I didn't do that. I didn't use food delivery as much for sure, and I was not into this topic at all, and I didn't have much belief into this because I just didn't understand it. And yeah, and the other thing, how do they operate? Well, if we're talking about the ultra-fast grocery delivery, it's a revolution. Let me phrase it this way.
So it is a revolution. It's not just a nice to have.
Oh yeah, I think it is. It's basically the thought of the reinventing the groceries infrastructure. Like, just imagine a year ago, you had a Tesco in front of your house or in front, close to your apartment. I don't know, 3-minute walk, 5-minute walk. I have a Tesco Express right in front of my apartment. So it takes me, I don't know, 1 minute to go on the elevator and a couple minutes to go inside, and then I'm back. So it's 10 minutes, still faster than you, right? And at the same time, when thinking about the classic retail, if there is another competitor opening, I don't know, in the range of 100 meters close to Tesco Express and opening another store, you'll think like, why? What's the reason? Why would you even do that? There is already a store there, right?
Yeah.
But with this new infrastructure, it is like a complete game changer. You don't open a store, you open a dark store, and you have a wider range of people you can reach. And there is, you just target a different audience. Like, it's a different type of people who don't like standing in lines, who have a more diverse cyber life, who like this kind of experiences. And especially now, when so many people are at home, it became so much more needed, you know? And there is actually a very interesting case about a nice thing to have or a revolution. There is a Russian company, they are huge. They are like everywhere in Russia, and
What's the name again?
Samokat. They were founded by the management team of Russian classical retailer Magnet, which is basically like classic discounter for Russia. It's one of the biggest retailers, used to be number one in the country. And they founded this new disruptive retail infrastructure, and they're actually going to US very soon. They actually announced it officially. They will be going under the different name. But the story is not about Samokat. The story about the perception of people, how they feel about this revolutionary nice thing to have. When there was an interview with the founder, he shared the story that people values this service so much that when even putting the advertisement online for their apartment, they can include that the apartment is in the range of Samokat for grocery delivery. So it's already, for some people, counted as an essential part of life that creates extra value for their real estate, for their everyday comfort, and many people are just proud that they are in the range of delivery, food delivery, grocery delivery, and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll be honest with you. I moved well, in the beginning of this year, right? So I moved from a different neighborhood in London to another neighborhood a little further away. I moved into the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
So you understand. So my thought was, okay, so I'm moving a little further away from the center, um, maybe to be, next to nature, and that's great, but you're a little isolated. So one of the things that I did, for sure I did, for every apartment, for every flat, for every house that I was doing research on online, I would go into Deliveroo, I would go into Uber Eats, and I would type in the postcode of those houses to see if they were servicing those areas. And
Absolutely.
and this is something that I definitely experienced. I can say 100% that I did that. And maybe there are other people doing similar things. Oh, I'm moving into, especially with the pandemic, right? And a lot of people moved away from the big cities. Oh, I'm going to live next to nature. I'm going to save a little money as well. I don't need to commute every day, so I can do that. Oh, wait a minute. Do they have Deliveroo there? Do
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
Uber Eats?
It is crazy how differently we now value the uh, the actual area, how we communicate with the community as well. Because when we were moving in the office, I was so happy that we actually finally had Volt delivery.
Hmm.
This was just like crazy happiness for me because I just got the choice because we have the office in Hungary, and uh, in the beginning we had the office where there was no reach of Volt. Volt is a lot smaller than Delivery Hero in Hungary, and basically later on we moved closer to the city center, and it just appeared, and I was like, wow, great, great. This was the main intent.
Progress.
Yeah, this was the main progress, not just getting the better office, but getting more options for my kind of interaction with the world, because uh, we work all the time, right? We're always online, and this kind of apps, this kind of industry miracles that are happening right now, for me personally, they just make my life so much easier. Yeah, for many people it's like nice thing to have, but I think they either didn't try it, or they're just not there yet, and it's normal because it's so new.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so new, and they're expanding, right? I mean, to this day, even in a big city, one of the biggest in the world, which is London, one of the most important cities in the world. It's not every neighborhood that's being serviced by these ultra fast delivery apps. They started, um, in a couple of neighborhoods, then they expand to a couple more, and they expand a little more, and at some point they're going to be all over the country even, right? But we're not there yet, right? I mean because they need those micro fulfillment centers, right? I mean, in each strategically positioned in each sort of neighborhood, right? So they can do what they do, so they can deliver in 10 minutes. Otherwise it's absolutely impossible. So
They also they need a lot of things, like they need the market, they need real estate. Like, how hard it is to find real estate in London.
yeah.
Like, you cannot find a parking spot for yourself, you cannot find the apartment, but you need so many dark store spaces, and you're fighting with not just food delivery companies, grocery delivery companies, I mean, but you're just fighting with the real estate market, which is so immense in these cities, right? And for the smaller places, and like more rural areas, right? Uh, it's exactly what you say. It takes time to have the market there, to have people to serve it, and just also it's about, you always need to trade off something, right? You would go to London, or you would go to a smaller city where there is less people, uh, less money, everything is still slower. So it just needs time for the market to be more mature and ready for it. But it's growing
Yeah.
every day.
Yep. Yes, it is. But yeah, I mean, logistically, it's not so simple. In order for that miracle to be able to happen, uh, which is someone knocking on your door in 5 to 10 minutes, which is nothing short of a miracle with your food. There's a lot that that happens behind the scenes, and the logistics of the whole thing is pretty complex. And I suspect that that's one of the reasons why it hadn't happened before. That's one of the reasons why the bigger brands weren't able to get into this sort of operation. Well, but now it's happening. And
It's
my
very
next go ahead.
Yeah, it's sorry for interrupting you, but there is like a very, I think, good comparison of how is it happening and why is it changing right now and how fast we can see the impact of that on our lives. Just
Hmm.
uh, imagine the bank, right?
Hmm.
There is, I don't know, the Bank of America or whatever bank is there, this huge machine with so many offline places where they give their services that are all profitable and that are also amazing and corporate and everything.
Hmm.
And and not so long ago, fintech has a huge revolution where so many new online banks just started appearing. And with time, people realize that you don't really need the office for the bank to provide the
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
Do all the people in the world use online banks? I don't think so. But what about you? Do you use online banking
Oh,
now?
absolutely.
And like, I haven't been to the bank for, well, yeah, I have been in the bank, but basically for my personal everyday operations and for my personal life, I don't need it. I don't use it. I have my phone. I have everything online. There are amazing startups like Revolut, Monzo in UK,
Yep.
and there is an online bank in every country now. But again, let's think about it as, for example, the Bank of America and Walmart, who already has it. They're already growing. They're huge. They're selling more and more, and they're just spreading their appearance. And there is Joker or GoPuff, who is
Hmm.
basically the online bank for the food delivery.
Yeah.
And it just needs to bring it in people to uh, prove that it's better, to get the audience, to get the support, to get the exposure, to inquire more and more people into this.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see that, technology and, software, like they say, is eating the world, and it really is. And change is happening at such a crazy pace. All these miracles that we're seeing, this disrupting industries with technology, and usually, or I would argue that maybe always, you know, sorry, or never, and never comes from within the industry, within the system, because the system is set up in a certain way that it can't basically doing these things, going completely online would be going against itself, and it cannot do it. Like if you think about Blockbuster and go back to a couple of decades, yeah, maybe. You think about Blockbuster, they were dominating, and then all of a sudden comes Netflix, right?
Yeah. And do you know
Block
that Blockbuster was offered to buy Netflix?
Exactly, exactly. But they couldn't do it because they would go against themselves. Their whole system was set up to operate in a certain way. So going online would kill most of their businesses. All their store. Think of all the stores that they had. All the employees working on those stores. So the
Absolutely.
moment they said no, we're going to go online, basically they need to shut down all their stores and fire 90% of their people. So it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely that the system will go against itself, right? So it gets disrupted and gets eaten.
And it's also so hard for these companies just to transform. Like, it's not just about hiring or firing people. It's also the mindset that, guys, all of my offices of Bank of America are profitable, and there are so many people coming every day. There is just no sense for me to close it. It's profitable. It's bringing me the audience. But
so you know what Blockbuster did when Netflix started to grow? You know what they did? Try to beat them. They tried to make their stores a little nicer. They implemented candy aisles in the stores. They thought that would solve, and now we laugh, but you know, but this takes me into my next subject, which is, okay, software is eating the world. There's disruption happening. There's a lot of companies in the space. They're the traditional retailers, the supermarkets, the off licenses. There's a lot of players, right? And there's disruption happening. So in order not to get disrupted, in order to survive, you need to adapt, right? So my question is, what do you think is going to happen, with all these players? There's a lot, these new ultra fast deliveries, the new, the food aggregators, the supermarkets, the food producers. What do you think is going to happen? Is there going to be consolidation? Meaning, are these ultra fast delivers going to start to buy each other, to merge, and eventually one or two will emerge victorious? Will they get acquired by retailers, by the traditional supermarkets, the Tesco's of the world, Carrefour, etc.? Are they going to get acquired by perhaps FMCG companies? Is that a possibility? Will they be maybe acquired also by the food aggregators? Imagine, would it be possible for someone like Uber Eats to acquire one of these companies?
They did acquire Corner Shop, right?
Oh, there you go. So I think you already have a little bit of the answer. I think for all these four questions that I asked you, I think that we're starting to see a few things already happening, right? And I think we saw some really cool things this week, and I saw you posting on LinkedIn. So talk to me about this a little bit.
Look, it's really hard, from my opinion, it's really hard to predict what is going to be next week. I'm not even talking about next year, because the industry is so dynamic. It's so big. It has so much potential. Example, it's not about grocery delivery, but it's about food delivery. I think people already kind of accept and believe that the market of food delivery is quite consolidated, right? Split between, I don't know, 5-7 companies in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just growing, right? They're just growing because it's the business of scale, very small check. You need a lot of deliveries. You need to make these deliveries efficient. At the same time, you need to spend a lot of money on marketing, on IT operations. Like, it's a huge cash burn to get the market.
Mm-hmm.
And look, this year, 2021, there is a startup from Ukraine called Rocket, and they enter Europe. From Ukraine, they go to Netherlands, they go to France, they go to Greece, they go to Cyprus. I don't know, maybe there are more countries that I don't mention, I don't remember, but they're just live and stepping on this field long after Takeaway and Uber and Volt and all of these companies are there. At the same time, there are huge companies like Deliveroo, for example, the latest news that they're leaving Spain, and Uber Eats left a couple European markets last year too. They closed Romania, they closed Ukraine, they closed Czech Republic, and the same is happening right now and will be happening with grocery delivery. There is just so much ahead of this industry. Like Glovo is entering this battlefield, and Delivery Hero is entering the battlefield, and Bolt just raised another 600 million for the purpose of building the infrastructure of grocery delivery. And at the same time, the market is bigger itself, right? And it is excelling every minute, every day. It is changing and it's growing. And yes, on one hand, there are already some acquisitions like GoPuff acquiring Fancy and GoPuff acquiring Deja. And there are new companies popping up in smaller countries. Their companies are expanding everywhere. A lot of stuff is happening. And at the same time, there is classic retailers that we discussed. And it's really hard to predict, first of all, who is going to acquire whom, right? Because it's also a lot about the purposes within the company, right? Are you there to conquer the world? Like, for example, can you imagine right now, I'll put it differently, can you imagine right now that Gorillas is going to be sold to somebody?
Well, I could see that. I mean, I'm not gonna bet that this is gonna happen, but I wouldn't, say it's impossible.
I'm not saying it's impossible. Just from your kind of vision of this company and how like bold and fast it is, like would you think that it would be on sale, for example?
I look, this week we just saw Carrefour, right, in France, not acquiring, but
Partnering.
partnering, right, and buying a minority stake in what was that, Caju, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a hint into things that can happen.
Again, yeah, absolutely. And the same happened with Flink, right? They partnered with the German Rewe. And basically, they also got a huge investment from the big retailer. But it's a lot about the goals and the character of the company. Like, there are also rumors, for example, about Gorillas and DoorDash and the new investments. And there was an article on Sifted about that. But that's why I'm saying that it's hard to predict. Like, for me, the companies like Joker and Gorillas and Getir, which have crazy money, that have like crazy teams. I mean, crazy in terms of they expand and the way that they present themselves and the way how much energy is around that. It's a lot about the energy. It's hard for me to think of the acquisition by some big giant, but at the same time, like, you said your examples yourself, right? There are already examples like GoPuff buying Deja and Fancy, and the deal of Caju, and the deal with Flink, and things that are just happening everywhere. It's very. It really depends on the motivation of the company and motivation of the management. Like, what way do they want to choose? And also, a lot depends on the market circumstances. When you need the money, you need the money. You cannot just bootstrap. I mean, this is not really the market where you can bootstrap. There is an example. There are examples of they do exist. There is a company in Canada, and there's actually a company in UK, Grocery Money, that is bootstrapping from the early beginning, and they get from the crowdfunding, right? But at the same time, like, how long can it last? It can, but at which scale? I don't know. With whom? Like, what is the competition and whatnot? Also, like, just think about it. if the retailers could do it themselves, they would, right? For somebody, it's not interesting. For somebody, it's just too big a change. For someone, it's somewhere on the roadmap, but they might be too slow. Somebody is acquiring, somebody is investing, somebody is looking into it. I think it's just too early.
It is early.
What is your thought around this topic of?
My thought is that we will see a lot of action in the industry because, for sure, right? So because number one, the big players, the established players, the household names, they need to play some defense now, right? They're seeing disruption, and if they want to survive, they need to be quick,
Yeah,
right?
for
They
sure.
need to have their eyes open and explore possibilities, right? They cannot otherwise. If they don't do anything, I think it's too risky for them. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
they need to do those things, and like you said, maybe they thought of, oh, maybe I can do it myself. I'm a giant. I'm careful, right? I'm all over the world. Maybe I can do it myself. I can do these. I can enter this game. It's a very complex game, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a very complex game. It's hard to make it a priority within such a big company like those. It's hard to innovate from inside. So it's like, okay, tough. So I think they're looking into these things as we just saw. It was a thesis of mine. It was a thought, and now this week, that's why I was so impressed when I saw that Carrefour now partnering with Caju with a minority stake there. But obviously, it can grow if things work out. It could grow. It could become part of Carrefour. Um, so that can be replicated. So I think that's a possibility. Basically, I'm taking nothing off the table. I think we're gonna keep seeing crazy things happening, a lot of disruption, a lot of acquisition, a lot of just a lot of action. Um, and this is one of the reasons. Going back to our first question regarding investors, I think that's really one of the reasons why there's so much money being poured into these companies. It's because not only the unique selling propositions are strong, and they could win
For sure.
on their own merits, but the exit scenarios are abundant, right? I mean, when
Oh
you're
yeah.
an investor, you're thinking, okay, I'm putting my money here. When what is the exit scenario? Where are we gonna IPO? Is this company going to be acquired? You're thinking those things, and in these cases, the exits are, I mean, the possibility of exit are multiple, right? You can win and you can IPO. That's great. You can be sold to a retailer. You can be sold to the delivery aggregator like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, DoorDash. You can be sold to a big e-commerce retailer. Amazon could come in and buy one of these guys.
Yeah, like they already invested in Deliveroo, and
That's right.
like they opened their own food delivery in India. The opportunity is immense, and you're absolutely right. Oh, it's a win-win for many companies, for many individuals, and it depends a lot on their goals and the market circumstances. Let's also not forget about the government, like the recent Spanish law, which basically makes all the food delivery companies and all the aggregators become the employee of the gig workers who were delivering on their own for the company.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're supposed to be employees. And what is happening in UK, and
Mm-hmm.
what is happening in other countries, and it is a lot of people. It is huge obligations,
Yeah.
and yeah, there are examples of food delivery companies like Takeaway. They're hiring everyone, and they're making huge steps into this direction, hiring a lot of people as workers, paying a lot of taxes and social security and all this stuff. But at the same time, what scale do you need to have such expenses, right? and how fast can these companies get to this scale? Yeah, I mean, like this food delivery, the ultra-fast deliveries, how fast will they get to this scale, and how quickly they can attract more money, right? Because you need to fund all that stuff, and we're not talking about profitability now, and investors need numbers, investors need growth and expectations, and they're under a lot of pressure, and a lot of things can change, even the things that are not really in the scope for the management of these companies and the founders and everybody who is making immense amount of work every day to make these miracles happen, for the ice cream to be delivered in 10 minutes. And there is a lot of pressure from different sides, and there is so much that we don't know. How quickly is it going to pop? How frequently is it going to be used? What is going to be the retention? Like, everything is basically the darkness, and we are just stepping into this new era. And how is it going to turn out for all these companies? I think it's really hard to estimate now. But I absolutely agree. A lot of action.
A lot of action.
To describe it, a lot of action.
So yeah, I mean, very dynamic. I think as an investor, I would definitely see this as a very, very attractive segment, and I think the market's telling us exactly that. That's why in the beginning, I was very much surprised, to see, wow, there's so much money pouring into these companies. But as you start to think about it, and you see, okay, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, actually.
Absolutely, and that was my first reaction as well. I was like, what? Like, as I'm posting and doing this this new stuff about the industry, I have the post planned for a little time ahead. And when I read the news every day, I'm like, wow, another investment. Like, wow, this new thing, like this. I had this news about the company raising some money, and I thought it was like pretty fresh and pretty interesting and different angle of the industry, as it was mostly about the virtual brands. And then I take a look, and wow, GoPuff just today announced Deja. So my news are like nothing compared to what just happened,
Yeah.
And it's happening every day. And in the beginning, it was crazy how all of them were just getting more money in the first half of 2021 than this industry got in years. But it makes all the sense. This is the revolution again. This is my vision, that it is a revolution, and it's definitely a lot of actions to be yet, and there will be much more. And what about what is your thought about the general idea of the business model, working with the FMCG and working in your field of data and knowing this field better of the fast-moving goods, and from the perspective of bigger companies? How do you feel about this growth of the segment?
Yeah. First of all, let me just finish what you saying before. I think it's well established. No, I think it's established that this is a revolution, right? So the question that we were asking in the beginning, is it a revolution? No, it's a revolution for sure. So that's established. And then going back to the amount of companies being funded, I think, yes, as an investor, I think it makes a lot of sense. Having said that, not everyone's going to win. Not all these companies that, that are getting funded are going to be, winners. There will be losers. But I think mostly, the risk reward is pretty positive. In terms of the FMCG companies, one of the questions that we could go into as well, we could try to dive a little deeper into, is and it ties perfectly to what we were discussing before. Could one of these companies could an FMCG company acquire one of these companies? Would it make sense? Is there enough synergies? Because, and this is a big discussion, because we see, we see and we have seen forever FMCG companies trying to dip their feet into deliveries, right? Into straight to the consumer, going straight to the consumers.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of that, not a lot, but if you go to any website of these big brands, you will see that you can acquire products straight from them. In some cases, it's a little more aggressive. It's a little more, there's a little, there's more infrastructure and there's more options. In some cases, a little less. It's very incipient, but you see a little bit here and there, So an aggressive move here, if you think about FMCG companies, do you see any scenario where an FMCG company, a big brand,
Like
would
Pepsi.
have, would be bold enough to make a move like this, to acquire one of these micro fulfillment companies, one of these ultra fast delivery companies, and incorporate it into their operations and say, you know what? I'm going straight to my consumers and I can deliver in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. Do you see that scenario as a possibility, or do you think it would be way too disruptive and maybe a little too aggressive?
Oh, I can imagine anything. Like easy. The market is giving so many surprises to us every day that one is a very, let's say, PepsiCo buying GoPuff.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, it's it takes a lot of courage to make this step, but if there is a strong vision within even the big corporation, it can be possible. Everybody's trying to be direct to consumers and find these funnels how they can sell more directly when they are not dependent on the retailers who sell the stuff. And you know yourself from your experience that many companies don't even know what is happening with those goods, right? But
Exactly.
if they are selling them directly, and if they are, let's say, acquiring a huge company with a huge infrastructure, they get not just sales to me, for example, right? They're not just gaining more margins on me, but they're getting a lot more data of how I interact, how I choose the stuff, what do I like to choose on Thursday, and what do I like to choose on the holiday, and when I'm ordering a bigger basket and a smaller basket. We're living in a very data-driven world, and a lot of information that we don't think is relevant. It is, especially for these big companies that are working the massive amounts of data, a lot of transactions, and let's say knowing the profile of I don't know, 25-year-old girl who lives in New York and how she consumes the goods, and if I have so much more people from the same profile, I can find a pattern, right?
Yeah.
If you go that deep, right?
Yeah.
And this way I can be better at choosing what products are more or less successful, which products I should promote on which day, at which hour, at which area, right? That's one part of the topic of the acquisition by FMCG. On the other hand, if I'm Unilever and I am selling to Gorillas, Getir, Flink, Cajou, Dija, GoPuff, I'm selling to all of them. So I'm not cutting my opportunities. Owning, let's say, some ultra fast delivery company, I still can I still can sell to others, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's not stopping me. But would I want to take this effort to put it on my shoulders to acquire the company, which is so early in the business and the market is so early in there, and I would know that I would need to invest billions into it still to get the market and whatnot. It's not really my professional field. Like, why would I do that if I'm already doing all right and I'm still selling all the stuff to these companies? It really depends on what these FMCG players see it in them and
Yeah,
what they see it in for them, right?
yeah, it would
Um,
be, you know, from my point of view, it would be an infrastructure play.
oh yeah,
Acquiring someone like this, you name the brand, doesn't matter, because the brand will cease to exist. You're part of my brand right now, and you become um, my micro fulfillment operation. So now I can go direct to consumer. I have control over every step of the process, and I can see what's happening. Right, like you said, there's a lot of data there. So it's kind of an infrastructure plus data play. It could be a very interesting move. But I'm not investing in growing the brand that I acquired because the brand ceases to exist. I don't care about the brand anymore. Now you're part of me, and now I have the capability to go straight to my consumer in 10 minutes. And that's absolutely amazing. Obviously, one of the reasons why something like this has never happened is because you would be under a lot of pressure from your partners, right? You work with multiple retailers. I don't think they would be very happy with something like this. So there would be a lot of pressure from retailers. So if you were to do something like this, if this were to happen, and maybe this is a crazy hypothesis, if this were to happen, it would need to be an absolutely huge, one of the biggest players you can think of, one of the biggest brands in the world you can think of, because this brand would need to be in a strong enough position where they wouldn't be too disrupted by any retailer pressure, so to speak.
yeah.
Right. So it's not for everyone. It would be because again, it's a extremely bold move.
Oh yeah, of course. And that's why I'm saying that it's so early, because
Yeah.
maybe we're even talking about the player, not the FMCG, but the company to be acquired, for example. Maybe we're even now like making a theory about the company that was not even born yet.
Maybe.
That is a possibility. I mean,
Yeah.
look, Joker announced the operations and everything. It was like April. Man, it hasn't even been half a year. Gorillas is the unicorn after 7 months of
Wow.
being on the market. 7.
That's crazy.
And like, and at the same time, there is Getir, who has been working for 5 years on their own market, like making their business model perfect and preparing for a huge jump. And now they're going to US and they're already in Europe, UK,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So we're talking about a very young industry again. I'm repeating myself, but it is really important to remember that, because again, maybe this company was not even born.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think that's a good way to end the episode today. That's a good thought for us to have, for us to keep thinking about, and coming to crazy conclusions and crazy hypotheses.
Oh yeah.
And
We
I
talked
think
a
it's
lot,
also,
a lot of fairy tales today.
yes, yes, and I think it's a good thought for the audience as well. So first of all, thanks to our listeners. Thanks, Stefan,
Thanks,
for
thank you,
joining
Matheus.
today.
It was
It,
great. It was really interesting, and it's really inspiring that it's again like the market. and the podcast is just the beginning, right?
Exactly. We're also just in the beginning. I think it was a cool conversation, lots of interesting conclusions and ideas and theories. And well, we will be back. Like we said in the beginning, we'll be back next week with another episode. We will have more. We'll bring people so we can interview people from the industry, from FMCG companies, from dark kitchens, from online food delivery companies, from software companies, and maybe even people outside the industry. We'll see.
Oh yeah, there is so much to talk about and so many interesting people to talk to. So it's a very
Investors.
interesting journey.
Yeah. All right. So thanks a lot, Stefan.
Thanks a
Have a
lot,
good evening
Mateus.
there, and speak to you soon.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye bye.